All right, it's 4:26 and I have been in an attic all day. So, covered in insulation. I've had to take the contacts out. It's crazy. I'm exhausted. I've been working for over 13 hours already and I've got more work to do. So, we're going to get through this one at 7 p.m. I'm not quite done, but we're going to go in reverse order today, starting with the Daily Stoic from Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. Things happen in training. When your sparring partner scratches or headbutts you, you don't then make a show of it or protest or view him with suspicion or as plotting against you. And yet you keep an eye on him, not as an enemy or with suspicion, but with a healthy avoidance. You should act this way with all things in life. We should give a pass to many things with our fellow trainees, for as I've said, it's possible to avoid without suspicion or hate. Marcus Aurelius, Meditation 6.20. By seeing each day and each situation as a kind of training exercise, the stakes suddenly become a lot lower. The way you interpret your own mistakes and the mistakes of others is suddenly a lot more generous. It's certainly a lot more resilient attitude than going around acting like the stakes of every encounter put the championship on the line. When you catch an elbow or an unfair blow today, shake off the pain and remind yourself, I'm learning. My sparring partner is learning too. This is practice for both of us, that's all. I know a bit more about him or her, and from my reaction, they're going to learn a little bit more about me too. So this like hits the nail on the head. I love how these always do in some form or fashion. But today was a big day. One of the employees had a personal family issue come up with a family member passing of a family member, um, and so it was just me and my youngest apprentice, and we are essentially sparring partners, right? And so it was a much longer day. It was a much less productive day because we were a man down. But it was great because it allowed me to teach the apprentice, one on one more so than having everything kind of happening at the same time. And so it was a much more intimate look at the process of a remodel or an addition and the wiring process and the consideration that goes into it. So speaking of terrain, I was in the attic, and that is a specific type of terrain on the job. So let's see what Master Sun opens up with in the traditional text. Sun Tzu said, "We may distinguish 6 kinds of terrain, to wit: accessible ground, entangling ground, temporizing ground, narrow passes, precipitous heights, positions at a great distance from the enemy." And then we're going to go into each one as we know over the next couple of episodes. And so are we on training ground or are we on battleground, right? So terrain. Master Sun says some terrain is easily passable, and some you get hung up. Some makes for a standoff, some is narrow, some is steep, some is wide open. When both sides can come and go, the terrain is said to be easily passable. Okay, so this actually makes the first one all of this, all up until understanding the 6 kinds of terrains, which is verses and verses. They have shortened that chapter to a few pages. And so that's all we're going to do. And so we're going to think about the different kinds of terrain we encounter in our day to day life, in our job, in our emotions. What kind of terrain are we encountering? And through that, are we treating it as a training ground, as a learning thing, as a sparring partner? Or are we taking things personally every chance we get? Everything is a battle, everything is seen as a war and has to be fought to the death. And so when you really take a step back and look at it, you have to pick your battles. And as we know from The Art of War, the only way to win the war is to not go to war in the first place.